Words About Books is a seductively spoken podcast. It stars two delicious hosts who read and discuss books that are too hot to handle. I'm Nate, Too Sweet Creed, joined as always by Bad Boy Ben Edward. Today, we finished discussing Marked by Sarah So Fine.
We sure do. That was... I don't know what that was. I'm impressed how deep you can make your voice go.
Thank you.
Why did you want... So, for the listeners, I suppose, Nate specifically told me that he would handle the intro for this episode, that he had something prepared. So you wrote that.
I thought it was funny.
I
laughed coming up with it.
I laughed. I don't know if I laughed with you.
That's okay. I'm willing to take it.
That's what Casey said.
Yeah.
Oh, good gravy. We're gonna really struggle in the second half of this book to stay mature.
We're lowering ourselves to the level of the book.
We're not going that low. So real quick, let's recap what happened last time. We're talking about Marked by Sarah Fine. This is a urban fantasy romance novel, and its mythology is kind of Greek. There's basically two supernatural entities we're worried about here: the Kiri and the fairies. The Kiri are kind of grim reapers. They mark somebody, and then the person dies in a manner that the Kir chose. And then the fairy takes their soul to wherever it's going, and they both get paid in one gold coin, which has its problems, but we discussed that. And Casey, who is a young up-and-coming fairy, has fallen pretty hard for a boy from the desert wastelands of Pittsburgh named Eli.
What's it, Berg?
Also, the book takes place in the future for reasons. And the future is a global warming hellscape where only the coastal cities of the United States have survived. Anything else you would like to add to that recap?
Oh, yes. And most recently, Scumbag Len, the most evil mustache-twirling douche in the world, tried to murder Eli by throwing him into a canal that I guess is just the most rancid, poisonous, toxic brew in all the world, because it can kill you within hours of just skin exposure. And he did this in front of several witnesses.
Yes. Now you say, and this bothered me the first time you said it too. You say that Len is a mustache-twirling villain, but I just cannot picture Len being able to grow anything other than just the wispiest facial hair.
That's fair.
So I feel like Len got more muscular as the book went on. They mentioned that he looks like a gorilla towards the end, but it was like I pictured him as Lazy Sal from Futurama.
That's pretty accurate.
Whoa, Casey, I love your breasts. Whoa. And that's how he compliments people.
I did look over your notes that you took on the book that turned into a PDF. And first of all, they're great. I'm going to have to bring some of those up.
Thank you.
There was also a note in there that, yeah, everyone, all the other EMTs, they do the wolf whistle, I think is how she described it. When Casey comes in, like...
Yes, I described that as casual sexism being okay in the office.
Yes, the guys greet her with their usual teasing but affectionate wolf whistle welcome.
I told you my theory is that
She's
Casey...
one of the boys.
She thinks she's one of the boys. Like, she thinks she's made it into the boys club, and she thinks she's, she's the exception to the rule, and that she's like the little sister of the group, and that everybody's looking out for her. I don't think that's the case at all. I think
they like her dad's money.
They like her dad's money, and she's hot, and they treat her like garbage. And she's just rolling with it because she doesn't seem to know any better. and Deck is an idiot.
Deck is pretty stupid.
Deck is an idiot, but also the secret hero of this book, and we will get to that.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
All right.
So after Eli gets assaulted by 3 men and he manages to beat them up until the damn numbers game, and he gets thrown into the sewage, I guess, the unclean water.
It's not sewage. I think it's just
like tainted water.
So I think it's just that the sewage just runs openly into what is also the street.
It's a pretty solid system.
Yeah, and it's like she mentions that it's just a hodgepodge of bacteria because I guess it's like warm, standing, brackish water that also has sewage flowing into it. And the thing that killed me about this is
the sewage itself. It touched your skin.
you
died.
Well,
you died within hours.
If you read my notes, you also know that I have a note in there that says that Steve-O from Jackass once swam in sewage for 60 seconds, and he's still alive despite all odds, and he's doing great. He got sober. He was on Hot Ones. I'm just saying, like, I'm not buying that it's actually this deadly. It's probably not good for you. I wouldn't drink it, but I don't think he's gonna die. I think Casey's overreacting. I think maybe she's not a doctor. So
I love the way you said that. Yeah, she isn't. You're right.
The other thing that killed me, aside from the fact that I don't think it could possibly be that deadly, is like, this is the street. This is the main street of Boston. There is a bar not 10 feet from this water and like restaurants, and people walk down these streets all the time. And it's like, why would they do that?
What would Boston smell like?
It would be intolerable, and nobody has ever commented on it before.
I was trying to set you up in case you wanted to shit on Boston again and be like, well, it's going to smell like Boston always smells like.
I thought about it, but I decided to take the high road this time. Something that no one from Boston has ever done. Oh, I really hope, like, we don't have that many podcasts out, and I really hope, like, our first few random listeners aren't from Boston.
I kind of do hope that.
So we can lose them immediately.
Exactly.
Ay, Dios mío. So they, with great effort, managed to pull Eli out, and he spits out the water, and Casey's heart sinks.
Oh, but first she beats up Len from behind.
I did enjoy that.
She attacks him, kicks him in the balls, breaks a rib. I think she kicks him in the face while he's down.
No, she punches him in the face, breaks his nose, kicks him in the balls. He falls down. And then while he's down, clutching his nads, she just boots him in the rib cage like 3 or 4 times. Like, Casey almost is going down for attempted murder too.
It's not what a hero would do. You're right.
She's not the hero
that we need,
think we deserve. She's the hero that we need to deserve.
Dark Knight. And another thing, Patriots suck. Anyway, so Eli manages to drag himself out. Does he drag himself out? Because his head hits the canal and it cracks and he gets a concussion.
No, I think he's super disoriented. But Casey and Deck and like maybe a handful of other people are able to like make a human chain that like grabs him and pulls him out.
And you know what? No one comments on the fact that it's gotta smell like just rancid shit all the time.
Well, maybe they don't even notice anymore. They've gone like scent blind to it.
Or it's because they're standing next to Casey and her spicy scent.
Oh,
yeah.
What do you think Casey smells like?
Didn't we decide it was probably like cinnamon?
I think it's
it's
pumpkin spice.
Yeah, that one of those two.
I think Casey is if a pumpkin spice latte just came to life.
I would not describe that as spicy though.
Well, I mean,
I guess Eli grew up in a desert wasteland.
It is a spice. I mean, like, how would you describe, without using the word cinnamon, the scent of cinnamon? Keeping in mind, you're a writer.
Yeah. Okay. Put me on the spot here. I'm a bad writer. We all know. All right, let's move on. Casey,
Oh.
she decides she's going to use her scope magic to get Eli to the hospital right away, and she has to get him undressed and admire his erection in order to cure him.
Okay, couple things you said there. So the first thing I want to mention is this is super against the rules.
Yes.
You're only supposed to use your scope for official fairy business, except that goes out the window pretty quick. And Deck is like, you can't do that. You won't even be able to see him in the veil, because
Yes.
normal humans in the veil just look like shadows. And she's like, no, he's solid in the veil. And Deck's like, what the hell are you how would you even know that? And she's like, I may have broken a lot of rules. Deck, shut up, handle things here, and I'm gonna go ahead.
Remember the other day when a random shade beat the shit out of me and left me for dead? Well, Eli just happened to be there with the scope, happened to activate it, and he was a solid person in the veil. Don't worry about
And
it.
she never told Deck anything about, like, so yeah, that's a good point, actually. A random shade attacks her in the veil, and Deck fucking calls her like 24 hours later to see if she's okay. It's like,
hey, just checking in to make sure that you're not dead.
well, no, I think he did go back to where she was in the veil, and he didn't find her. And so he calls, hoping maybe she'll answer her cell phone. I don't know if you get reception in the veil. And she does happen to answer her cell phone. She's like, I'm okay. We'll talk about it later. Don't worry about it. But I guess in the intervening time, he never asked her how she got out of the veil.
Right?
And so,
That's accurate.
yeah, Deck is not bright. I didn't really appreciate how dumb Deck was.
Well, he employs a rapist who wants to rape his sister.
Yeah, that's. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. So Casey's going to break the rules. That's the first most important thing. She's doing this for Eli. She's sacrificing everything. She could go to fairy jail for this, but she doesn't care because she loves him.
And also because her brother is the chief fairy, Rylan. And
I have to
he'll
admit,
probably just be like, yeah, do whatever.
every time Casey talks about breaking rules, and she secretly knows that, like, yeah, some people might get killed for this sort of thing, but Rylan won't kill me over this. And it's like, you sound like such a spoiled brat. But I guess she is a spoiled brat.
She is.
So Casey takes him, and the second thing I wanted to correct you on, not to the hospital. That is not where they go. They go to the EMT station.
Oh, okay. That was my bad.
They go to the.
I forgot. You when you take people in an ambulance, you usually just go to the EMT station to cure them and get them back on the street.
Well, first, I know I'm saying first a lot, so I guess this is.
Oh, that's right. Eli.
Yes.
He never wants to set foot in another hospital again, despite the fact that he set foot in 3 in this book alone.
I have no idea if Casey knows that about him.
Doesn't he say something like no hospitals, or am I just remembering it wrong and I'm thinking of like Batman or something?
What? Batman? I mean, we were just talking about Batman, but no, I don't remember if he says something like that or not. I think he tells her not to take him anywhere, that he's fine. I just want to get on the bus and go home.
Solid plan, Eli. I think his next plan was, well, if I take a shower, I'll rinse all this off, so we'll be fine. Oh, that's why they take him to the EMT. Let's get him a shower, and we'll get him some antibiotics. And then Eli is like, I don't do needles. That was set up a few chapters ago when my sister randomly said it to me for like no reason, but there was a reason. It's called foreshadowing, and I don't like needles.
Do you think, as an EMT in the city of Boston, which about 30% of the surface area of the city is poisonous water. Do you think an EMT should know how poisonous the water is and the proper treatment for somebody who's come into contact with the water?
I would think that the average citizen should know how poisonous the water is and that you should not come into contact with the water.
He's new into town, and apparently he can't smell it.
But he is an EMT who works in that water, and his sister is like the most important person on the entire planet now. We'll figure that out in a couple chapters. So you'd think she would have been told at some point, oh yeah, that water, the water that smells like just human feces and vomit, don't touch that, like ever. It will kill you.
We might as well just mention it now because we've kind of already given the game away, is that Eli's sister is a medical researcher. And she specifically researches cures for antibiotic-resistant diseases. So I would imagine that part of the reason she's in Boston is, well, I mean, one, I guess Harvard is still an amazing school in this world. But she could probably also just, I would imagine.
And the Patriots still suck.
Bill Belichick's still cheating. But I would imagine she just like walks out back and like scoops up a glass of the stuff and tests her cures on it.
Oh, gross. Oh, Jesus. No, this all makes sense though. Because you said, and this is true, Eli had no idea what his sister is actually doing. So maybe at some point on the bus ride over, she was like telling him, hey, by the way, they said this water is like poison. Don't touch it. And Eli was just like nodding his head and going, uh-huh, uh-huh. Totally not paying attention to anything she said or did.
So Casey, I'm gonna set you up. Casey walks him through the veil. Once you're in the veil, you can open a portal to anywhere, but for some reason you got to step into the veil first. So you step into the veil, you close the portal, you open another portal to the EMT station, and then you drag Eli through. But while they're hanging out in the veil, I think this is the first time she runs into that blonde chick. Yeah, she runs into, so as they're moving through the veil, they run into a Kier. And this Kier is, Mandy? Yeah, it's Mandy. And she's blonde and she wears stilettos. And she's like a sadist, I guess. And so Mandy mentioned, she's like, oh, is that a human in the veil who's visible? I want to kill him. And Casey's like, don't you touch my boyfriend. And Mandy's like, whatever, I'll see you later. It was a really weird interaction.
No. It was set up exactly like Eli's fear of needles. Something happens so that later on you can be like, oh, I guess that was set up, ?
I guess you could say that it's just that she got caught. Like, she got caught using her scope inappropriately, and this Kier could tell on her.
Sure.
They successfully navigate one more challenge, and they make it into the EMT station, and Eli is being very non-compliant.
Yeah, he's being an asshole. Just shower off and take your antibiotic. He's like, no, I'll take an oral dose. And she's like, well, gotta be delivered by an injection because you need a larger dose. And I know you're not a doctor, but if you take it through an injection, it's not metabolized by your liver, so you get a higher amount available to your body, Eli.
I also didn't know that.
But he should know that oral doses are less effective than IM or IV. That's why in the hospital, they infuse you with antibiotics if you have like sepsis. They don't just give you oral antibiotics. It sounds like she's trying to say he has sepsis because she thinks that this stuff is going to shut down all of his organs.
Yeah. And how does one get sepsis?
You get an infection in your bloodstream.
And so is it just as simple as like if bacteria or virus gets into a cut?
It's more complicated than that. It's certainly more complicated than, oh, it's on your skin and maybe you swallowed a little bit of it. So these must be some like super duper deadly bacteria in this water that is in the street of Boston, untreated, for anyone to just fall in and die at any moment. And not just die, but die in a horrific manner.
I have to admit, everything I know about human biology, I learned from watching the anime Cells at Work, where the viruses are like anime bad guys with tentacles, and the white blood cell has to stab them with a knife.
It is weirdly accurate in a lot of ways, though. You can go and start treating patients now if you wanted to.
You know, if Eli can do it, I probably can. You just slap some of that self-perpetuating saline in them and throw one of those self-stitching bandages on them. Yeah, I could do that. It's like, oh, this is the inside bit that's not supposed to be on the outside. I'll just cram that back in there, and then we'll just slap a little thing over that, and
Done. That's how medicine works. All right, let's get Eli's fear of needles out of the way. So Casey decides, I know, I'll distract him so I can give him this injection. But how can I distract him? Okay, what I need to do is just fuck him. So Casey decides to fake fuck him, but not go all the way in order to distract him long enough to shove her long, hard, hot, virile needle into his asshole to shoot tons of sticky antibiotics all up in his muscles.
Are you just going to let that hang? Are we just going to let that moment breathe?
Okay. Fuck. So Casey's thinking that getting involved with Eli is probably a mistake, as she is doing everything short of penetration. They need to stay professional, Ben. And luckily, Deck walks in on them almost fucking right there in the shower, and Casey tells him that it was a distraction, and Eli takes this as an offense. Am I just a distraction to you, Casey? The person I met a few days ago and have no reason to believe would want anything other than sex with me at this point?
Did your wife know you were going to do that?
She knows now. All right, so Eli, he's really lucky that she also has the brain of a horny teenager.
I think you mentioned in the previous podcast that it's the will they, won't they, misunderstandings and miscommunications that lead to like all the drama in the book is kind of like fabricated until the very end. And this is one legitimate criticism I have of the book, is that they didn't need to fabricate all this drama until the very end, because there are things we find out later that were happening throughout the entire course of the book.
There's a fucking murder mystery with the fate of the world hanging in the balance that's happening behind the scenes.
And that would have provided plenty of drama. Instead, the drama we get is Casey says something and Eli takes it the wrong way, or Eli says something and Casey takes it the wrong way, or the two of them don't talk, and then we've got Len, who's just like an impossible asshole who couldn't possibly exist in reality. He literally just committed attempted murder. At the very least, he just committed assault in front of a number of witnesses on the friend of the most powerful family in town. And of course, I'll jump ahead here. You just know nothing's going to happen to him. Yeah, that's just boys being boys. That attempted murder.
He shows up later.
It's like this. That's just, it's not believable, even within the context of a story about Grim Reapers and fairies. So she's trying to manufacture drama within the relationship, because I guess she's trying to save the payoff of them finally getting together until the very end. But it doesn't really need to be that way.
Especially because they both want to be together, and there's very little standing in the way of that.
I would say that this is a teen romance dialed up to 11. I think I made that point before. It's like they don't kiss, they have sex. They don't go to school, they have jobs. But other than that, they're not like emotionally adults. So when they have these dumb misunderstandings, it's just dragging out the length of the book. where it would have been much more interesting and much more fulfilling, and I would have been way more invested in the relationship if the two of them had honest conversations with each other, had been honest about what they wanted, had, it's not a secret that adults like to hook up. Tinder is no like nobody thinks it's this 1950s style dating app, It's for hooking up. And they could be honest about what they want in a relationship. They could
I think like everyone I know who's in a serious relationship was way more communicative.
Yeah, and so they could have gotten together earlier in the book. And I think her main mistake is thinking that sex needs to be the big payoff, and it doesn't. We don't need these like 2-chapter long marathon sex scenes. We could have just had like a little romantic hookup early in the book. They start getting together, they start dating, and then maybe they actually have a real life problem.
Right. The problems actual couples face in the real world.
Yeah, like their families, for example, might be on opposite ends of a particular social issue, let's say. And maybe that leads them to make some tough choices that could maybe alienate them from their respective families. And they have to really decide, is this relationship worth it? You can still have sex. That's totally fine. It's just she's building up to this and it doesn't work. Because that's not all of romance is not a build-up to having sex. I think that's her main misconception.
Well, yes, exactly. Well, the thing is, she wanted to write a romance book with them getting into a relationship. It's fine if she wanted to write a book about two people who just wanted to hook up and fuck around, but make that the book then. It's what a teenager thinks a relationship is like, is what it sounds like. It's a young adult relationship or a teen relationship that they just add in adult themes, but they don't mature up the people.
I was going to say the flip side of the coin is if you look at it from like the urban fantasy aspect, it's like a guy who really wants to get his screenplay produced, but he can only find jobs in the porn industry. So he makes his porn scripts like way too good and way too elaborate. And you've got like porn actors trying to do like these Oscar roles.
All right, should we continue?
Yes, we should continue.
Okay. Eli goes home to sleep off his concussion, and while he's sleeping, he feels like Casey is right there embracing him. And this is written off as a dream, but in reality, Casey actually used her scope to invade his home and sleep with him without his knowledge, and also he's naked. It's a little weird.
Also, isn't sleeping off a concussion like the worst thing you could do?
I'm pretty sure that's a myth, though.
Oh, really? I learned something today.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the keep people from falling asleep or they'll die. It's like, make sure they're not like, make sure they don't have trouble breathing or anything, and yeah, let them sleep. They've suffered a grievous injury. They need to heal. Okay, so while Casey is sleeping with this guy without his knowledge, the other plot sees she finds out that two people who were with her dad that night, and I did not realize they were with her dad. They were like, oh yeah, Deborah and Jimbo or whatever. They're dead now. I'm like, who the fuck are these people?
I had also totally forgotten who those people were.
I had to read through a second time for him to be like, yeah, they were two people with her dad that night, and they both died within a few minutes of one another from strange potential accidents in the hospital.
Well, so it's like you said, there's a little setup that has nothing to do with anything, and then it's just paid off later. It's like the foreshadowing purely for foreshadowing's sake. And those were the people she had gone to visit with Eli. But we were so distracted by the fact that Eli was making this big sacrifice because he doesn't like hospitals to be there with her that we totally forgot that, oh yeah, she's visiting two people who just nearly died for her family. They should have been more important than they were.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And she doesn't investigate it any further. She's like, wow, that sounds like it's foul play. That's bullshit. And then she never goes and figures it out. And really all the ancillary characters behind the scenes do all the investigating. So who cares? Let's get back to Eli's erection.
she treats this investigation like most people treat politics on Facebook. She's very angry about
That's
it.
bullshit, but I'm not going to do anything.
Very angry about it. Okay, well, there's a protest this weekend. Oh, yeah, I got stuff.
Yeah, I've got to watch Netflix. So
The Witcher. Yeah, so.
So from there, we move on to a gala for
Galena.
Galena. Ho ho!
A Galilena.
So Galilena, Galena, she invites Eli to join her, and this strong, as we mentioned, strong, loyal, loving brother. No fucking clue what his sister does. He finds out at the gala that Galena is working on something to cure every single contagious disease, like all of them: fungus, bacteria, virus, protozoan, like all of them. All of them are going to be cured by this vaccine.
Well, it's like a vaccine of nano machines or something.
Yeah, it's magic. I'm not going to give it too much shit. But she does the research like all by herself apparently. Like she doesn't have a team that works with her.
Well, I had thoughts on this because she has a computer that she has named. So I was like, maybe you could say that AI has come to the point where it can do the work of a team. I'm okay with this part. Like this is the least like this is legit near future-y sci-fi.
So, well, here's the thing about that. It seems to be if she dies, and here, spoilers. Here's the plot: if she dies, bad things happen, right? Does she not write down her research?
Oh yeah, I was that okay, yeah, that's a fair point.
Did she learn how to do her research from those idiots from the
What did I You are banned, sir.
Damn it! I tried to slip one in.
What did I tell you? But it's a trope in a lot of things that if the key scientist dies, nobody else will ever figure out the thing. And it's like, that's not how science works. At least in the current world, they're usually like...
How many other scientists are there in the world that are developing this thing?
Yeah, it's normally a race to publish because a half a dozen teams are working on what you're working on. And if it's as easy as, like, if AI has gotten to the point where somebody with, okay, an expensive computer, but an expensive computer, let's say, okay, costs as much as like a new car. Like you got a $30,000 computer. That's not that much for medical research budgets. There would be a ton of people, especially in this world of like mysterious free-flowing gold. It would be easy to reproduce her research. All of it would be in the computer. Even if you burn down her lab, it's probably been copied to like half a dozen. It's probably on a cloud server that's not even in Boston now. It's just it's not really believable that killing Galena could stop this cure. If you're presenting it to fundraising galas, odds are you've already presented it at a conference. And you can say there's no more conferences in this world, but you're stretching it.
You're stretching it if you have a fundraising gala, but no conferences. We are kind of straying off topic, though. You know what we need to get back to? Does Casey like me? Oh, shit. Does Moros like Casey? Are those two an item? Eli looks damn fine in a tux. He's giving his sister a look that he'll die for her. God, I wish he would look at me that way again. This is the next two chapters that I'm boiling down, by the way. Oh, and Galena's research will destroy the economy of the most powerful people in creation, except as we pointed out, it wouldn't. Because at the very least, they should all be like millionaires. But they're probably even more richer. Like, even more richer, really. Trillionaires. And wouldn't it be better in the long term to let the Earth repopulate so that more people could be alive and then more people could then die? Because you still got arsons in this world. You've still got toxic sewage, and sometimes people won't be able to get to the hospital in time. This world still sucks in a lot of ways, even if you make all the diseases in the world go away. Let's get more people in the world so we can have more deaths. We have like 150,000 deaths a day in our world. Their world has a fraction of the population, so they probably have a fraction of the deaths. So the main villain, who is a surprise, so I won't spoil it here, is an idiot because he doesn't think anything through at all. And also, Eli is such a strong and lovable person. I hope he looks at me and gives me the warm fuzzies and his my or however it is you have sex. Tee hee hee, I'm not a child. I'm 25-year-old for real, guys. I can buy alcohol and lotto tickets and cigarettes for real. Over to you, Ben.
Couple of things Nate didn't mention.
What, you didn't like Eli looks good in a tux? Oh, is Moros a thing? That was just 2 chapters right there.
There is a little bit of plot that I'll cover real quickly. We find out that Moros is actually one of the key funders of Galena's research. Both Casey and Eli wind up at this gala. Eli is there as Galena's date, and Casey is there because her family is a big sponsor of Harvard, I guess. And so they're kind of positioned on opposite ends of the room. Galena obviously has the seat of honor, and she has to make a speech. And there's dancing and stuff. And when they get there, Moros takes Galena aside and asks for updates on her research. That's where we find out he's funding it. And Casey's immediately suspicious, wondering what Moros could possibly be up to here with this. Casey and the rest of her family, I guess, have a realization at the same time as Galena's speaking that Galena is about to drastically reduce the number of deaths in the world, which, yeah, Nate, I completely agree that more people means more dead people.
Yeah, it's not like she's created immortality, okay?
So Casey's thought is that Galena is going to reduce the number of deaths, and that's going to impact the economics of the Kier-Ferry relationship. And so she thinks that Galena could be painting quite a bit of a target on herself, which we find out a lot of other people come to that realization as well. So Casey's committed to protecting Galena. She is not tempted by the loss of her money whatsoever, as misguided as that belief is. She's one of the good guys.
Yeah, it's not like she's going to lose her money. She'll just make less for a little bit of time.
She's wondering what the rest of her family thinks about that, though, because they have numerous businesses, partly to launder money, but I guess they also prop up like whole global economies with their gold. And this is where working backwards from a cool concept sort of starts to fall apart a little bit the more detail you go into. Like, penny for the ferryman. What if the ferryman was like a urban fantasy thing? Oh, okay, yeah, I'll write backwards from that. Let's talk about the scales of economics of that. Let's not. That's not a good idea.
Unless you're an economist, like, don't do that.
While they're at this thing, keep in mind, it has been 24 hours since the funeral. Eli has a concussion and was just treated for every disease. And so he's kind of tired, but he does look good in that tux.
That's true. He looks
damn fun
in that tux.
Eli has to hang out with Galena at this party, and Casey is so upset to just not be with Eli, and Eli is so upset to not be with Casey. And Moros is moving around. Like, nobody's quite sure what Moros is up to. Like, why would he fund this? Is he trying to keep Galena close to him so that he can, kill her if she gets too far with this cure? Or is he actually, like, trying to throw a wrench in the economics of the Ferry family? Like, what's his game? And he's sort of schmoozing both sides. He dances with Galena, has a little conversation with her. He dances with Casey, has a little...
Oh my God, is he a thing? Does he have a thing with Casey? Are they an item?
And that's what Eli thinks.
Because Eli's a fucking idiot.
It's that old meme of, like, the girl looking over. It's like, is he thinking about other women? And it's like the guy's thinking, like, I wonder why my motorcycle wouldn't start 3 weeks ago. If I had a concussion and I had just nearly died in a canal, I'd take a night off. That's just me. I don't know though. I'm not Eli. I'm not a fighting badass. I don't have that much testosterone. So
No one has that much
I
testosterone.
don't know. Moros might. Moros is pretty sexy demon man.
Casey decides Galena needs to be protected. Doesn't matter about my fortune. Like, screw it. This is the right thing to do. I'm going to go stand guard over her. And I'm going to make sure that no Kier can get to Galena. So she goes to Galena's apartment using the scope. And she hides there. And then, is that Deck? It is. So she follows him, doesn't find him, and then she just kind of shrugs her shoulders and she leaves. What a shitty bodyguard.
To be fair, Dick very well could have been lost on the way to the bathroom.
I was pretty sure Deck was not the villain. And as soon as I saw him come out of this portal, I knew for a fact that he wasn't. Because the book just kept trying. Like, I don't think she writes mystery novels. So I don't think she has a good grasp that, like, it's not just throw a bunch of red herrings at the audience and then, oh, big reveal, it was not those people.
No, it's Scooby-Doo. It's the only other guy in the cartoon that hasn't
Right.
been mentioned. There's only one person who's been mentioned in this book and then never mentioned again. And it's that guy.
Yep. So it tries to make you think, oh my God, is it Moros? What's he up to? Oh, is it Ashlyn? She thinks that, I need to stop being an embarrassment to myself and others. What a bitch. Oh, is it Deck? He's hanging around the apartment. And those are the only three people it could possibly be. There's no one else. Don't think about it. And then the reveal is it's none of them. Surprise.
I still have no idea why Deck was there.
I think he to look suspicious. That's it. That's the reason. Maybe he and Casey both learned how to be bodyguards from the same person, and that he went to protect Galena, saw that there was no threat there in the minute and a half that he was in the apartment, and so he left. And then Casey was like, "Oh, well, he's not here anymore, and also there's no threat, so bye."
The next night, Eli is called into Deck's office at the EMT station. And Deck demands to know, Eli, why are three of my best paramedics in the ER, or why are three of my best paramedics laid up with injuries right now? And Eli does say it's self-defense, except for Len, who I just thought was an ass. Deck is acting like he's gonna fire Eli for some reason. This is of course we're not gonna Eli isn't just did you not see him try to kill me?
He threw me into toxic water known to kill people in hours.
Yeah, if somebody had the balls to call me into their office after three dudes tried to kill me and be like, so why are those three dudes in the hospital? I'd be like, well, one's in the hospital because your sister beat the shit out of him. The other two tried to kill me as you watched. So...
And if you fire me, I will send so many lawyers up your asshole.
Yeah, actually, not only are your three best guys laid up, out on injury, I'm thinking about pressing charges, so they may be in jail for the remainder of their careers. This is the dumbest conversation I've ever had, Deck. And Deck's Deck's just sitting there you know what? That was a test, Eli. Yeah. And you just passed. I actually knew the whole time that Len was a secret asshole. There were a bunch of witnesses who told me exactly what he said about my sister. I am going to be inviting him back to be your supervisor, but... Nice job.
Well, Len tried to tell his story was, well, Eli was talking about raping your sister, so I had to try and murder him. But it's everyone knows you, Len. Everyone knows that's your deal. You don't even try to hide it.
Anyway, Deck's look, gonna be real with you, man. My sister likes you. You obviously like her. You were nearly murdered to defend her honor. So, you should just be adults about this and tell her you like her. And Eli's like,
what?
No. No one understands me, Deck. This star-crossed romance just isn't meant to be. As much as I want it, as much as she wants it, there are reasons we can never be together. Oh, like what? Reasons, Deck. So many reasons. I'm a man from Pittsburgh. She's a princess from Boston. It's not going to work out. The steel's in my blood, Deck. I can't leave it behind. And so, yeah, we're back on this. We're back literally to where we started at the beginning of the book. They're just gonna be friends.
Oh God. He goes to tell Casey, like, yeah, I had this conversation with Deck and it was stupid. But also he said, like, he wanted to know what my intentions were with you. And they're like, we should just be friends. And I was like, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you both. I hate you. Just go and die. Like, seriously? You're gonna finally, like, oh yeah, I do have feelings for you. But we should just be friends now. No! God, I hate you.
This book is everything I hoped it could be.
Now we saw reviews, so we knew that there were sex scenes. But honestly, I thought when I got to this point that despite the reviews, they weren't going to get together in this book. And they were just going to drag this shit out for 3 whole goddamn books, and they wouldn't hook up until the 3rd fucking book. I was so done at this point.
I'm totally the opposite. I knew as soon as they said they were going to be friends, it was 5 minutes until they started going at it like spider monkeys. And wouldn't you know it, that's pretty much what happens.
Well, they decide that they're going to meet together for a friend date for dinner.
Yes. They're going to have a just friends dinner together in a romantic setting.
Yeah, in a romantic place, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's romantic as a restaurant on the edge of sewage water can be.
Before their date, Casey has a couple business meetings. Her first and only business meeting, I shouldn't have said a couple, is with Moros. Casey's like, I don't know what you're playing at, Moros, but I'm not going to let you hurt Galena. And Morris is like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I bought her apartment. I fund her research. I'm the only reason Galena's alive. And Casey's like, you're not going to hurt her anymore, Moros. I will do anything right now. You just name your price to not kill her. And Morris is like, that's not how this works. I don't mark people who aren't fated to die. Like, I don't know why you're accusing me. I had no intention of killing her. She's like, just name your price, you son of a bitch. Casey's a master negotiator. So, Moros decides that he will accept Casey's. He will accept Casey's terms. And his only price is that she has to share her life experiences with him. Like, I guess Moros has this power that if he touches you, he can
kill. The power of the bad touch.
Do you even know who the Bloodhound Gang is?
No.
God damn it. So Moros has this thing, and it's not really explained, but if he touches you, he can kill you, obviously. But he can also see your entire future, past, present, everything. Because I guess, he's kind of a god of fate. So if he touches you, he can live your life vicariously, like, through you, and you share it with him. So Casey goes through this incredibly traumatic experience of feeling and living every moment that will occur for the rest of her life all at once. And to Moros, this is like a drug. He loves it. But to Casey, it makes her feel just like totally violated. Like she's already done everything that there is to do in her life. Her life is empty now. Like he just sucked all the life out of her. And again, they're not vampires. This is not a My Vampire Boyfriend.
I was about to say, he's not a vampire. Though.
He's not a vampire. He's a cure. They're different, okay? They just live forever and they're monsters and they're tragic and they're misunderstood, but they're not vampires. Okay, this isn't that. Casey's like, oh my God, I am so fucked up from that experience, but at least Galena's safe now. And she stumbles out of the bar. Eli manages to see her, like, just as she's leaving. And he sees Moros come out afterwards. And Moros he's like, Moros, what did you do, you son of a bitch? I'll kill you. And Moros is like, hey, buddy, all I did was negotiate with one of the dumbest people I've ever met. And he's like, look, I am 3,000 years old. like I don't give a shit about your girlfriend. But don't worry, I saw her entire future. You guys have a beautiful green-eyed baby. I think it's going to be great. You should go hang out with her. Moros, god of impending doom, is the one who tells Eli, you should probably tell that girl you like her. And he shoves Eli out of the way, and he goes on about his day. And then Eli's like, I've got to go find Casey, because I guess she used her scope to teleport again like she's not supposed to. And on the way out,
it's not a rule that anyone really cares about.
No, because Dex just wandering aimlessly around the city. So while Eli was waiting for Casey, he had a strange encounter. Somebody ordered him a drink, and when the waiter brings it to him, he's like, no, I'm not doing alcohol anymore. And the waiter's like, hey, buddy, I just deliver them, okay? And points to the lady who had ordered him a drink, and it's a mysterious blonde woman wearing stiletto heels. Looks like she might be named Mandy or Candy or Bubbles. And she is like giving him the like, hey there, Gorge. And he's like, nah, I'm not about this life. As Eli's leaving, he runs into her again. She's like, so you're just going to walk out on me, Gorge? And she like puts her hand on his chest, and he's like, yeah, I am. And he brushes her hand off and walks past her. Now remember that encounter, because it probably didn't mean anything. Wink. You can't see me winking, but I'm winking. Eli takes the bus just as fast and dramatically as the bus can go. Straight to Casey. It's funny because he's poor. But can you just imagine? Can you imagine him thinking she's dying, like trying to rush to save her, and like he's just sitting on a bus?
I imagine it like when you get in a taxi and you go, follow that taxi. But instead he gets on a bus, he's like, go to this address. And I'm like, sir, go sit down. We're going to make like 4 stops before we get there.
Eli makes it to Casey's apartment and realizes she lives in what is almost a literal fucking castle. It's this giant skyscraper in the middle of the city that has like 50 security guards out front, secure doors that you have to badge your way through. And he's like, oh, yeah, of course she lives somewhere like this.
Now, real quick, does this castle, does it border a running sewage pit that just runs through the city?
It must. Moros couldn't even offer him a ride. What a jerk. But Moros can teleport. What a dick.
It only makes me like Moros more, actually, when you point that out.
So as Eli's standing there wondering how the hell he would even begin to get into this building, Ashlyn pulls up and she's like, oh, hey, you're that guy my sister likes. I'll let you in. And she lets him in. They get in the elevator together, and Ashlyn's like, Casey, she goes through a lot, and I could tell she really likes you, and you really like her, and so just be good to her, okay?
And he's like, you must have the wrong idea about us. We're just friends.
He's like, yeah, I'm the best of friends. Okay, I would never speculate wildly about what she's wearing.
Never.
She's like, just take care of my sister, okay? And that's when we're like, oh, maybe Ashlyn's all right. Except unless you were like a normal person, and then you're like, Ashlyn didn't do anything this entire
Yeah, Ashlyn did nothing wrong.
Yeah, that should be the t-shirt.
She's trying to keep Casey from being a fucking embarrassment to everyone because she is a constant embarrassment to everyone.
Well, and keep in mind too, she's 25 years old in a family where the average age is like 80. So she is like the kid, and she is treated as such, but she doesn't want to be treated as such, like every kid I've ever known.
What's Eli's excuse?
Eli's not that much of a dick at this point.
Yeah, okay, all right. So Eli comes to Casey's. Her floor is like all her penthouse. Like she comes out into this gigantic waiting room outside of one door. Is that right?
Yeah, she basically has an entire floor to herself in this building. The building's like 100 stories high, so I guess the core fairy family lives there, and they each probably have their own floor.
So I'm gonna set you up.
All right.
He buzzes, and she sees him. He's like, "Oh, come on, let me in. I just want to make sure you're okay." And so she relents and she lets him in, and then
she greets him in like she wearing a bathrobe or something, and she's just like, "Nothing's ever going to be the same again, Eli. I've already lived my entire life. Moros, he took it from me. He took my whole life from me." I don't think she actually tells him what happened.
No, no, she doesn't.
She's just like, I don't want to live anymore, Eli. I'm done. I made the worst deal in the world. Yeah. And then Eli's like, no, I won't let this happen. Let me heal you with my love. I don't remember exactly what he says, but it's not much better than that. And so Eli, kind of creepy, won't take no for an answer. She does eventually say yes, but it's one of those like 4 no's and a yes means yes kind of consents. And so they start going at it, right? Oh, and God. It is finally on. Okay, Nate, you got what you wanted, right? This is what you were here for.
This is one of those be careful what you asked for things.
Yeah. I can only describe this. I don't even know, man. Like, it is straight up pornography from here on out. Okay. So it is so graphic, I can't even begin to describe the actual text of the book on this podcast, even though we are rated as an explicit podcast. So I'm going to just read to you the notes I made from highlighted portions. So this is my commentary. And my commentary is going to belie just how long this goes on. This goes on for at least 20 pages.
It's a very long chapter, and the entire chapter is devoted to it.
Two chapters.
Well, this one is devoted to it, and then isn't there another one later, right?
It is a short story length sex scene.
That's an accurate description, yes.
There is one chapter from his perspective, and one chapter from her perspective, and it is graphic. So here are my main reactions to it. Oh my God, how long are your arms, and also why would you do that? Oh my goodness. You know, this is going to sound weird, but that is actually the plot of 2 Dune novels. Oh, fucking you. Oh, good, it's over. Okay. So Nate, what did you think? What were some of your comments, perhaps?
Mine were, oh God. Okay. All right. Oh God, they're still going at it. Like I skimmed, right? I was reading, but I was trying not to, and I was going as quickly as I could, and I'm like, okay, that's 1 page. Okay, oh my God, they keep going at it. It wouldn't end.
I'm gonna go ahead and say some of the things they do are anatomically questionable.
Yes, that is an accurate way of saying that.
Okay, so keep in mind, we're 2 dudes. We're 2 straight dudes. I think we both definitely by the end thought it was gross.
And it went on forever and ever.
So, I guess They are out of the friend zone now, though.
I actually would appreciate it if at the end of it they said, we're just friends, right? Like,
We're just two sexy friends.
yeah. Or if he said something hilarious and really off-putting, like,
Here comes the friend stick.
or
Show me the friend zone, baby.
That would have been 1,000 times more tasteful than anything that was actually said. And oh my God, do they keep talking too?
oh yeah, that actually isn't the end of the book, as you might expect.
Oh my God, and they're like dirty talk. Oh,
What?
oh my God. I was just like, oh my God. Oh, I'm not old enough. I'm 30. I'm 31.
Oh yeah, it was bad and weird and it's just graphic, very graphic.
So as they're laying there spooning and cuddling and generally just enjoying the fact that they've finally
Marinated in each other's stew.
Oh God. I was going to say celebrating the fact that they finally become a couple and finally were able to. Oh, this is a weird one. So as Eli, no, I'm gonna let that one go for now. I was gonna say they're finally like celebrating, they're cuddling, they're celebrating the fact that they're finally a couple, that they finally get to be with each other, and for some reason, Casey's like, all right, let's get to work or something. Let's go back to your place or whatever. And she takes out her thingamajig to teleport. She's not supposed to do that. And she like does a little, she swipes right, and she sees that just as she's saying, like, Eli, I think this is the beginning of something beautiful. We are going to be together forever. Nothing will ever break us apart. Yeah, he's marked for death.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was going to be obvious or not, and Casey, she knows who did it. She knows with the certainty of a master detective who has put together all the facts and the evidence. She has means, motive, and opportunity. It's Moros. Moros clearly marked him.
Moros accepted the deal and then went back on it. That bastard.
Son of a bitch. Can't trust a word he says. And so she's like, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm taking a stand against fate. Do you know the one thing stronger than fate in this world, Nate?
Casey's.
It's love.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to make this right. They are going to go to the one person they can trust, to the one person powerful enough to put Moros in his place. And the one person you may have forgotten until this very point is in this book, Rylan. They are going to go to Psychopomps Inc., home of Rylan and seat of all fairy power. And Rylan, when they get there, agrees to help them. Rylan's secretary, Shauna, sends them right up to the top. And they hang out with Rylan, and Rylan's like, Moros has gone too far this time. I know he's the one that marked our father. He's going against fate. I will inform the keepers of the afterlife of this travesty.
And then I'm going to have them remove him from power and give me all of his power so that I'll be in charge of the Kiri and the fairies. That bastard Moros.
Yes, I am the only one who can wield ultimate power. And then Casey's like, why'd you say the last bit all quiet like that?
Why are you tinting your fingers?
He's like, oh, no reason. He's like, are you wearing a hood? And he's like hastily takes it off. He's like, no, I'm not wearing a hood. What? What? You're wearing a hood. What are you talking about? And so she's like, finally, Eli, we're safe. Ryland's going to protect us. We'll be able to stay here in Psychopomp.
Oh, I love
No
this.
one's gonna-
We're safe. The one word I could think of to describe Eli is alive. He's so alive. He's the most living man
He's
ever.
so alive. He's only 3 days from retirement. He's
Yeah, that was my note, actually.
nobody has ever been more alive and wanted to live so much and had so much to live for. And he gets shot. He gets shot 16 times. Just somebody comes through the elevator and they just start shooting and shooting. And Eli shoves Casey out of the way, even though she's immortal. He's not the brightest. And he just takes all those bullets right in his organs, like all the vital organs, like all the big ones.
All
Yeah,
of
like
them.
the heart, the lungs, the liver. They're just gone. They're just spewed. They're like 5 feet behind him on the wall. And he falls down and Casey's like, I'll save you. And she starts doing CPR, which
CPR.
probably really hurt. made his last moments on this earth just agony. And
Please stop.
and Casey just has time for a quick glance back, and she sees Shauna has a gun. It's Ryland's secretary, and she shot Eli like 60 times while delivering Chinese food, and they didn't even get to eat the Chinese food. And and
That bitch.
Ryland,
How could she?
Ryland though, Ryland's got your back. Ryland pulls out his own gun that all businessmen have, and he shoots Shauna like 3 times. And then Shauna's lying on the ground, and then he puts down the gun, and it's okay because Ryland can kill a fairy because he's the big fairy, and the big fairy can kill the little fairies. And I wish you could see my arm gestures right now because I have punched my mic like 3 times. You're probably going to hear that. And it just all happens so quick. And then they call the ambulance. And of course, wouldn't you know who arrives in the ambulance? It's Deck, and Casey's sitting there performing CPR. And again, I got to stress, his heart is on the other end of the room. And so,
and Deck's like, Casey, he's been dead for a while. You're just breaking his ribs. What are you
she
doing?
looks down, she realizes, Eli, he's totally blue. He looks like a corpse. He has no blood in his body. Casey goes, why? Why would she do this? Why would she kill my love? And Ryland's like, I heard through the grapevine that she was dating Akir, and her family, they're like really like old fashioned, and they would have disowned her if she had been dating Akir. And so I wonder, she was kind of insecure about it, but I wonder if that Kier, I bet he manipulated Shauna into doing this for Moros. I'm going to get him, Casey. We're going to get him together.
I'm going to get Moros.
And Casey's like, but I just talked to Moros. I don't think he would do this. And Ryland's like, what, you talked to Moros? And she's like,
don't do that. Don't
she's
do
like,
that
yeah.
anymore.
And he said like he didn't have anything to do with it. And he sounded really convincing. He made a lot of sense. Like he made a lot of sense. Like, did you know he pays for Galena's college? And like, Ryland's like, you need to never talk to Moros again.
Ever. He's a bad guy, Casey.
Yeah. And so Deck's like, okay, I'm going to take this corpse and I'm going to take it to the hospital. The last place he would want to be, I know. So they start, and Casey's like, I'm going to ride with you. And then I'm going to go try to ferry him. Smash cut to the Vale.
Well, hold on. We ought to point out one thing that we glazed over in that amazing retelling. At first, Eli, after he finds out he's marked, he's like, well, like, I'm fucked. I'm not going to do anything. Like, we're done. And then Casey was like, but an unauthorized marking, you're not going to die from like a brain tumor or a disease or like a building falls on you. You have to be murdered, Eli. And that raises so many questions. Should we get into that now, or should we hold that off until like the end?
Yeah, let's get into that now. Let's talk about marking.
So, first of all, how do you know it's unauthorized? How often does an unauthorized marking happen? How do you know the rules of an unauthorized marking? Because it makes it sound like that like never happens.
It's actually supposed to be impossible.
Yes, it's supposed to be impossible to mark someone without Moros being told by the Fates to do it. But apparently there are rules to it, and she knows the rules somehow. And then so I could get a steamroller, okay? I could run you over like a cartoon. But if you weren't marked, you would still be alive? Like you would just be like all your blood and organs would be squeezed out like toothpaste, but you would still be a living being until someone came along and touched you to mark you for death.
That's my understanding, yeah. There is a scene later in the book that actually confirms that somebody who is not marked, who suffers a fatal wound, will somehow survive it, yeah. That they can injure people, like, I'll do you one better. If you were just thrown into a volcano and every atom separated, are you still technically alive somehow?
Yeah, how do they mark you then? Does a Kier have to go into that volcano and like rummage around in the lava until they happen to hit a molecule that was once you?
I'm halfway between calling this a bad faith complaint and saying it's a legitimate criticism. It's
well here's the thing. Here's why this is a problem. The book is called Marked. It's not like we took a small detail like the gold and went, well, that's ridiculous. This is kind of important if you're naming the book after the thing.
I would say it's not necessarily important because the book's called Marked. I would say it's important because she opened herself up to this when she chose to explain that rule. We didn't need that. This is one of those cases where it would be better just to not talk about it. Everything's going to fall apart really quickly when you get into personifying natural phenomenon as anthropomorphic creatures. It always falls. Like, you can always ask these questions indefinitely. It's the old, like, can God create a boulder so heavy even he can't lift it if he can do anything? And, you know, you start making, the more rules you make, the more trapped you are by them. You could just say, for whatever reason, Mandy wants to kill Eli. She likes to sadistically murder people.
Whoa, hold on. Spoiler alert. Mandy was the one who marked Eli? I thought it was Moros. Shit. God, you really got me.
I'm sorry I ruined that for you.
It's all right. Continue.
Why don't you tell us what's happening in the Vale while Eli is being, I guess, probably not rushed to the hospital. It doesn't seem like there'd be much need to hurry.
Meanwhile, in the Vale, Eli is in a desert wasteland that's awful and it's shitty. It's full of undead spirits. Everything is horrible and disgusting. And he's back in Pittsburgh.
Did you know that the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center once pioneered the world's first, including the world's first known, they've pioneered several world firsts, but the first known cystic fibrosis heart-lung transplant, the world's first simultaneous liver and heart transplant operation on a child. These are just a few of the things that we could do. Successfully used robotic arms, wiring the brain around the spinal damage to restore arm and leg function. These are just a few of the things we do. If they take one more shot at Pittsburgh, I'm not even joking right now, I will unleash the secret incantation that will summon Andrew Carnegie back from the grave.
Does he also summon orange water?
Oh, you son of a bitch. I can't believe I told you that in confidence.
Yeah.
And that was Johnstown. That wasn't Pittsburgh. I'll have you know that water is significantly less orange these days. There was a fish in it the other year. A living fish.
So Eli's back in Pittsburgh. And Moros appears to him and is like, hey, bro, sorry that you died. How about you give me your soul, and I'll make you an immortal demon man, but not a vampire. Just need to make that clear. This is not a vampire. And Eli's like, fuck you. And Moros is like, oh, yeah, that's what you told me last time. Dramatic reveal.
Hey, Moros, what is a soul? Like, is this my soul? Like this thing in the veil that's talking to you? Or is like that my mind? Like, what's the difference between a mind, body, and soul? If I give you
Now you're getting into religion.
well, like if I give you my soul, like, am I still going to be here talking to you, or are you going to keep something? Like, what is?
I'm going to keep some weird jelly man representation of you in my trunk.
And I gotta say, okay, one little meta commentary here. I was still finishing the book as you were starting to prepare some of the summary. And I think I asked you, I forget what I asked you exactly. I was like, why would Moros want souls? Like, he's not a keeper of the afterlife. He doesn't represent heaven or hell. What is he going to do with a soul? And you replied in a text message, he keeps them in a trunk. And I thought you were joking.
Nope, I sure wasn't.
I read that and I actually thought, oh my God, he just keeps them in a trunk. And then it was weird because Eli can still go into the veil and everything, and he looks like different in the veil. Like, but what, like most times, if you sell somebody your soul, like you sell them your ghost, you know? But at this point, Eli is a ghost who is selling his soul. And so, like, I'm not super clear on what that even means.
That's okay. You don't have to be clear. He's like a weird little jelly man that he puts inside of a trunk. So yeah, let's get back to that dramatic reveal where Eli had died before, but he fought his way back and they managed to resuscitate him. Now, okay, so let me get into my thoughts. So this is the reason why he's solid in the veil, supposedly. Maybe that's not the real explanation, and you'd find out the real explanation in the second or the third book. But if the explanation for why he's solid in the veil is really because he died once before and came back, that is the most anticlimactic, stupid explanation I could have asked for. Now, I didn't hate it as vehemently as some of the other stuff, like the let's just be friends shit. This is just a minor complaint. Doesn't really matter all that much. But Moros, he sells Eli. He's like, hey, give me your little jelly man. I need to put it in my trunk. And Eli's like, why would I ever do that? He's like, well, if you do that, you can be allowed to protect Casey and your sister. And Eli's like, oh, shit. My Achilles heel, my kryptonite. Okay.
Also, he tells Eli he's going to hell.
That's true. As we will learn, we're gonna get to that in just a little bit. We're almost at the end. Eli going to hell is a big deal. Okay, so yeah. So Moros and Eli make this deal. Eli becomes a cure. Casey gets to the hospital, finds Moros, and is like, "You got a lot of balls coming here." And my first thought was like, Moros can, like, he's 3,000 years old. He's got magic powers. What are you gonna do to him? Fucking nothing. That's right. But he's like, hey, I did this for you, by the way. You're welcome. Eli is not in the morgue. He has to explain this like 3 times. Like, you're gonna find that he's not in the morgue. You're gonna find that his spirit is in this hospital. You're gonna find, it's like, oh my God. Just I brought him back to life. That's all you need to say. Because Casey meets him in the veil and then meets him in the hospital, and he has to explain like 3 times, like cryptically, oh, you'll find that Eli is very much alive.
Did you just cross Emperor Palpatine with the Count?
Would you watch that movie?
Yes. Well, yeah, Casey's a detective.
Yes, Casey is a great detective. You only have to explain basic concepts to her 3 times for her to get it.
And Casey's just like, God damn it, Moros, what do I have to give you to bring him back? What? Name your price. I'll do anything. Just bring Eli back. He's like, but
I did.
I told you, you're gonna find he's not in the.
You son of a
Just
bitch.
name your price, damn it.
Do you need to touch me again? You son of a bitch.
Moros takes off his glove and he's like, it's just you're taking the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna blow through the next few Eli chapters. Okay, here's what happens. Eli takes Galena home, okay? And he has red eyes, and he's averting his eyes from Casey. And Casey's like, oh my god, did Moros take the love away from him? That bastard! Eli doesn't love me anymore. And then we switch to Eli's perspective, where he's learning how to mark and kill people. And he's like, Casey looked at me like I was a monster. She could never love me. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the setup for the next book. They're gonna have to get back together all over again. Luckily, I don't know if I should say luckily.
I was gonna say she got one note for this book, and it's just like they miscommunicate. They secretly love each other, but they can't communicate it. And then they communicate it, and then something happens where they still secretly love each other, but they can't communicate it.
Over. I'm so done. So Eli learns to kill people, but he does it in a pleasant way. Like he has to touch an old man and he gets a heart attack. And then he touches a young couple and a building falls on them.
You told me. Okay. This was another thing where I had to ask you before I finished the book. So I had it spoiled for me. You were like, yeah, but he like kills people mercifully or whatever, like unlike the other Kier, which are kind of sadistic. And I was like, okay. And yeah, the old guy has a heart attack and he doesn't seem to go peacefully.
No.
Like he clutches his chest, his eyes go wide and he falls down and like seizes a bit. Like that didn't look fun. I mean, it was quick for people who weren't having heart attacks, but I got to imagine for him that seemed like it took a while.
Right.
And then like the couple, so this is how Akir can choose, like they've got little death note powers, okay? So when Akir touches you, they imagine how they would like you to die. And in this case, Eli runs up and he slaps both of the couple on the back and they're like, hey, fuck you, guy. And he disappears. And he imagines, he's like, I hope they both die in a way that they both go at the same time and they don't have to endure the loss of, losing a partner. And I hope that they don't feel any pain. So a building falls on them. And granted, that probably does meet the criteria. That probably does meet the criteria. They also could have just had like a carbon monoxide leak in their house as they fell asleep.
And what about all the people in that building?
They said the building was empty.
Oh, okay.
They did make a point to say that the building was empty when it fell and nobody else on the street got hurt.
What a great guy Eli is.
I guess property damage doesn't factor into fate.
Yeah, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about that? All the property is in Boston and is bordering canals full of human waste.
Well, my only problem is like now, like how does that not change the day-to-day lives of thousands of people? Because now that street's closed, those people don't go to work the next day. That
maybe that does factor into fate. Maybe when he was like, I want them to die like this, fate is like, sure, yeah, that's what I always had planned.
Oh dear. So Eli marks these two people. The building doesn't fall on them right away. Eli has enough time to go back to the EMT station and start his shift. And then they get a call. A building fell on this really happy couple. And they got to go try to save them. And as Eli's digging them out, he's like, oh my God, I did this. I'm a monster.
And he put his hand up on his forehead, facing away, and
no one could love this.
Also, Len was there.
Oh yeah, Len came back and Eli scares the shit out of him with his red eyes and his claws, and Casey has to be like, "No, Eli, don't kill Len." And the audience is just like, "But why?" So Eli's all upset, and Casey realizes for once in her fucking life what's going on, and she's like, "You marked these two, didn't you?" And he's like, "Don't look at me, Casey." And Casey's like, "No, we have to do this, Eli. We have to go bury their souls." And so they go into the Vale and they find the two hanging out pretty much where they died. I guess these two aren't one of the special ones that have memories.
Right. They just hang out where they died.
And they both go to heaven. Good for them. And they get, 2 coins. And Eli made a cool $20 tonight.
Casey's like, "Here, you take this one. I'll take this one." And he's like, "No, it's evil. That's blood money."
And so Eli takes his coin and he's like, "Okay." And then Casey's like, "I have to save him with my body. With
A
my
river
body."
dance?
This is no time
Oh.
for river dance.
Getting a little hot and steamy over here.
So, I think we just broke. I think we tried to take this seriously in the first episode. We can't. Okay. So they go back to Eli's, and Casey,
She has the longest
I'm gonna
zipper
get to that.
in the
Casey,
world.
I don't even know how to describe this. I took my glasses off. I don't even want to read what I wrote. Casey attempts to seduce Eli, and I'm just going to tell you, I will not describe the way she seduces Eli and the things that she says. Let me see. Okay, so they're in the Vale, right? That's where this all starts. I had, at this point in my notes, recovered from my initial shock at how graphic these sex scenes were going to be, and so this time I was prepared and able to offer some more insightful reactions and comments to the things that are happening. So they start to kick off in the Vale, where they both just got paid, and now it's time to get laid. And
then after that, Gatorade.
right
Boom,
on.
boom, boom.
And so they start macking, We're going to do it just right here in the Vale in front of the zombies. And to that, I also wrote "Oh yes, Eli, I want them to watch," Casey said as she willed more spicy pheromones to secrete from her skin. In all seriousness, though, they do teleport back to Eli's place. Sheesh, Casey Zipper just goes on for days. So Eli is not 100% sure if he's into this, because he's afraid that with his newfound vampire strength, he might literally rip her arms off or something. And Casey's like, "Eli, this is happening. You can be a part of it, or you can not be a part of it. But one way or another, this is going down. Eli, your woman is literally dying of thirst, and are you just going to leave her in the desert? Come on." And so Eli gets over his psychological issues. He starts utilizing his cure strength in interesting ways. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Tenacious D has, I think it's on their first album, they have a track about doing a certain kind of push-up. And Tenacious D, their modest goal is to perform one such push-up. I imagine Eli could drop and give you 20. He has muscles.
Muscles. Spicy.
Casey is like a sexy football coach. She demands 110%, and you damn well better leave it all on the field.
Gatorade.
Many of the things said during sex tend to sound a lot better in the moment and perhaps do not merit publication.
Also, Lent was there.
Horse imagery,
Oh, God.
and this is just a personal thing for me. I hate the word flesh. It's gross. I don't like the way it sounds, and it's unclear exactly what organic material it refers to. It's just I don't like it. I don't like it.
Oh, God, I just read the part of the book that is in reference to.
Don't look at the highlights. Just look at the comments.
Why did I do that?
There's a reason we're not reading this text. Oh, dude, ew. That's really something that should have been discussed beforehand. Seriously, handshake agreement at minimum.
Oh, God, the word is gushed. Oh, God. Jesus.
Oh, dear.
I read that.
Now, you told me that there were 2 sex scenes in the book. And like the previous sex scene, this one has 2 chapters. It's short story length, one from her perspective, one from his perspective. But what you may have missed is that there is actually a 3rd sex scene immediately following this one. You may have missed it because this one does not go on for 20 pages. It's not told from multiple perspectives. There's not a lot of weird, porny, dirty talk.
There's not a horror novel secretly inside of there.
Yeah, it's not like the most disgusting thing you've ever read, believe it or not. It is a romantic, subtle, loving sex scene that is handled with some taste, and it's actually kind of intimate. It doesn't focus on like vivid descriptions of people's bodies. It doesn't
use the phrase gush.
or flesh. It just focuses on the emotions these 2 people feel as they do this, very personal act. And it was not bad. I mean, it was romantic. It made me more invested in their relationship. I could actually kind of imagine the way that they feel about each other, and I could kind of care about their relationship and imagine how hard it would be, for them to be separated or, have one of them to die or be taken away. Like I didn't actually laugh like when Eli died. The tone of the book waffles between just straight up erotica and urban fantasy. It seems to want to be a romance book, but the romance it's depicting, we've said before, it's teenage. It's will they, won't they, people who are not mature enough with or comfortable enough with their emotions to actually talk to one another. And yes, all humans have that to some degree, even as an adult. But usually by the time you're an adult, certainly these adults, they've both been described as having had previous romantic partners. They're both in their mid to late 20s. They shouldn't be this will they, won't they, does she like me? It's just lame. Had they done more of a grown-up relationship that evolved a little bit more slowly, a little bit more maturely, they got to know each other. If they'd gotten to know each other, if they had come to care about each other, if they had fallen in love, I guess, instead of just instant, almost addictive connection that they now just start like caving into. Less than romance, this more reminds me of somebody trying to stay sober and having to work at a bar. That is how Eli describes working with Casey. He doesn't want to feel the way he does, but every time he goes into work, he's greeted with his temptation. And when they have sex and it's this big, gross, it's just this like hedonistic description that goes on for 20 pages, and it's total pornography. It's not romantic at all. There's no emotion. It's like you're describing like dopamine hitting. You're describing chemicals and stuff. It's not love. It's not romance. It's not romantic. And every review I've read of this book, even the 4 and 5 star ones, have commented that the graphic sex gets in the way of the plot.
Absolutely.
I've probably read 50 reviews. And it seems to me that your ability to enjoy this book is largely dependent on your ability to ignore what is meant to be the big payoff. But yeah, I think the book first needed to establish intimacy. Then maybe it could have indulged in something more explicit if they wanted to have a more erotic chapter. And then back to intimacy, with the emphasis always being on an emotional connection between the two characters. And that is going to be my core criticism of this book, is the emotional connection and the intimacy between the two characters is largely non-existent. It's pure lust. It's not love. And it, for that reason, for me, it fails as a romance novel.
I don't really have anything to add because, yeah, I feel like the story, if you wanted to make it a romance novel, should have been done completely differently. And if you wanted to make it this, like, the world is ending kind of stakes, maybe that should be the story you focus on, and, like, the romance thing is a part of that bigger story. And let's wrap up the urban fantasy part of this in the lamest way possible. All right, so Eli, after Casey drifts off to sleep from just having all of the stamina and energy and fluids robbed from her body, he goes to mark some more people, I guess. And in the Vale, he runs into secretary whose name I've forgotten.
Shauna.
And Shauna gave Rylan the old slip when Rylan came to deliver her to the afterlife for some reason. She's a shade now. And Shauna's like, so, yeah, Rylan made me do that. Gasp. Tell my family that I love them and I'm in heaven. And she goes to heaven. And we both have a lot of problems with that now. Especially me, because you fucking brought it up and then I had to think about it. I went, oh, god damn it. That's dumb. I didn't think she actually went to heaven. I thought she was just telling Eli, like, yeah, tell them I'm in heaven so they won't worry. But no, you made me go back and read. He like sees the light, doesn't he?
Yeah, she goes to heaven.
She murders a man in cold blood. The man she's talking to right now. She murders him. She gets to go to heaven. Meanwhile, Eli, he's going to hell because he killed 3 rapists who raped his sister, made him watch, and he got revenge on them and killed them. And that's why he's going to hell. Does what he did deserve damnation for eternity?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And when Moros actually reveals this to Casey earlier in the book, because Casey's like, well, Moros only takes murderers as his Curie. I can't believe that Eli was a murderer. And then Moros is like, yeah, he killed 3 rapists. And then Casey's, while she's like fucking Eli, she's like, hey,
Eli's like, this is okay. There's a couple of reasons I had a problem with this. Eli's like, what I did. And it's like, okay, first off, I don't believe, regardless of your personal beliefs about what Eli did as an audience, I don't believe for a second Eli feels bad about it. I think Eli'd do it again. I think Eli'd kill a rapist every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't think he feels bad about that at all. I think he feels 100% justified doing what he did. And then Casey, master detective that she is like, I was thinking about it. And like, I was thinking that like killing somebody who raped your sister and tortured her is actually pretty understandable. And then I further thought that the fact that there's really not like a lot of police protection in Pittsburgh and that those guys were still out on the street means you probably just saved other people from being their victims. And like, I think that's a good thing. And I'm like, wow, no shit.
Thank you, Casey.
Thanks, Casey. Duh. I mean, I guess it needed to be said because everybody was pretending like that wasn't obvious. Like, he lives in a lawless wasteland and the only justice is street justice, and he enacted street justice. They're trying to do the vampire thing where the vampire needs to kill people to live. And so the vampire's like, oh, I am a monster.
Whoa. Hold on. The Kiri are not vampires, Ben.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They're not. Like, that's the thing. They're not. These people are going to die regardless. Like, they just need to be marked. They're fated to die. Nobody, like, it's not the Kiri's fault.
No, they're not going to die regardless. As we established, you cannot die without being marked.
Right. But Casey says that if people continue to live past their fated death date, they become, like, listless and, like, they just sort of lose their spirit and they begin to affect people around them similarly.
This sounds like a really bad system. Let's wrap this up. Shauna dropped the dime on Rylan. At the same time, Casey's waking up from her sex coma in Eli's apartment. And, oh my God, Rylan is coming into the apartment. What is he doing here? Dun, dun, dun. And then he's like, Casey, I told you to stay away from Eli, stay away from Moros. Like, you suck. You keep ignoring me, so now you have to die.
I'm in charge. You need to listen to me, Casey.
He does seem like he is just impotent.
I'm the boss of the fairies.
And behind him comes Mandy, the blonde woman. And so Casey's like, oh God, if Mandy touches Galena, she'll be marked, and then Rylan can kill her. So she does a slow motion dive to save Galena by going after Mandy. Now I'm just going to get these out of the way. Why does Rylan do this himself? He had minions, or he paid people in the past to do his dirty work. And nobody exposed him prior to this. So it's not like he needed like a desperate, like last minute, I gotta go kill this lady. It's the only way type of motivation.
I have a better question. Why didn't Rylan wait until everybody was asleep? Just like,
she was in a sex coma.
I mean, Galena. Like, why didn't he wait until Galena was asleep, have Mandy come in, like boop her on the nose, and then shoot her in the face?
Why didn't they teleport directly to Galena's room instead of coming in through the front door? Why did Rylan need to kill Eli in the first place?
Because Eli is the ultimate protector.
But Galena was coming to Psychopomps Inc. God. She was coming there for protection when Eli was marked. Why didn't they just mark Galena? Why not just send Mandy over to mark her while Galena was en route? And then when she got there, you could have Shauna shoot Galena instead of Eli.
Didn't Moros say he had people guarding Galena?
He did say that, and he was a fucking liar. Because he didn't. There were no other Kiri around.
No one there.
Why was this attack so slow? Like when Casey's father died, it was like an ambush where they got shot. No one could see what was going on. And then
sorry, why doesn't he just shoot Galena in the face? Okay, she's not going to die, right? But then mark her.
He straight up says, like, I'll shoot her in the head and it'll cause her significant brain damage. It's like, we don't even need to kill her then. Just destroy her brain.
Yeah, that's the part that makes the cure.
Yeah. Just turn her into a vegetable. Take her out, idiot. So Casey's like, oh, I'll stop you, Mandy. And Mandy's like, shoot her. You're the only one that can kill her besides a random shade or like a canal pirate.
Well, no, a canal pirate can't kill her. Only if she's in the veil can she die.
Well, a canal pirate can tie her up and remove her organs.
Yeah, but the organs will grow back. Or maybe not. Maybe she doesn't need them. I don't know.
I don't know either. So Mandy's like, all right, well, we're going to go to the veil where you can't regenerate, and then I can kill you. Oh, I could just do this myself. Cool. Poof. And they teleport out to the shittiest place in the world, just like it's even more rundown than Pittsburgh. No one's around. Everyone's dead. No vegetation, no animals, nothing. It's just a shithole. And where are we? Where is that? Oh, that's in Kansas.
Well, at least global warming didn't affect Kansas.
I laughed. I was when they described this place, I was like, I bet that's Kansas. And then yes, it was, and I found that to be very humorous. So if we're keeping count, and I have been, Casey is 0-3 for fights in this book. This badass Shinigami spirit hunter cannot fight and beat Canal Pirates, Shades, or Curie.
I was a little unclear. Is she supposed to be able to fight? I didn't.
She
get
said
that.
she had to hunt down her previous boyfriend and drag him into hell.
Well, that doesn't seem like she's like claiming to be an MMA.
She should be. I feel like if you're in a spirit world full of hungry zombies who want to beat the shit out of you and escape back to the real world, maybe you should know how to defend yourself.
I think Casey's like super big on preparation.
No, she's not.
She's more of an in the moment kind of person.
Fair enough. So Eli, he returns. Deck shows up, and Deck is like, Eli, Ryland was the villain all along. Who could have seen this coming? And they shoot at each other, and Deck catches a bullet, and Eli's like, don't worry, Deck, you'll be fine. He's like, no, if he shoots us, oh God, it hurts so much. And then Eli's like, wait a minute, hold on, where is Casey? And then he's like, oh, I need to think about her really hard to get to her. And then he shows up and he fights Mandy. And oh yeah, I forgot. I guess at one point Mandy fights Eli before he appears back in the apartment. Whatever. Who gives a shit? They fight and they fight some more, and they get back, and Ashlyn is there now, and Ashlyn takes the scope from the Charon, and then Moros appears. What am I forgetting?
Can I?
Yeah, interrupt me.
Okay. So you're forgetting that Deck, as he was fighting his brother.
Oh, he has the worst one-liner.
No, that's not. I wasn't there yet.
Okay.
He gets his scope open just a little and pulls it over his brother's head and then tightens it around his neck. So Ryland's head is in the veil. And his body is in the real world. And he's just shooting wildly. And then that's when he shoots Deck. So when Ashlyn comes in, this weird headless guy with this ring around his neck is like dancing around the room, and Ashlyn rips his scope off his neck, and he's just flailing around. But when you take the Charon scope, you become the Charon. And so now Ashlyn's the Charon, and she's like, you shall live, Deck. And Deck begins to heal because now the Charon deemed that he should not.
But then, immediately after that, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ryland is like, that's not how that works. Like, I'm still the Charon, you idiot. But Deck healed anyway.
Yeah, because Ryland's wrong. That's the only explanation. He's full of shit.
So Moros arrives, and he's like, what's going on here then? And Mandy is like, yeah, Eli's a bad guy. You should kill him. He came in, he attacked the Charon. He's a crazy person. He's trying to kill his own sister, I guess. You should get him. Get him. And he's like, all right, Eli, come here. I'm gonna give you the bad touch and vaporize you. Casey was like, no, wait! I solved the mystery when Ryland told me that he was the villain. So I know that he's the villain. Detective Casey has solved the case. It was Ryland.
And then Ashlyn's like, I solved the mystery several weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm the Charon now. And we have no legal quarrel with Eli. And yes, everything Casey said is correct. I have the endorsement of all the other fairies. We came here to actually take care of Ryland. He's the main problem. While Casey was doing whatever the fuck she was doing here, I was actually out having meetings with many different people, rounding up support. And me and Deck figured out exactly how to remedy this.
Yeah, there was actually a mystery book that was written behind the scenes, and it's like how we said, if we're gonna do Eden Volume 3, we need to write like a book that doesn't get published so we can keep track of where everyone is. And that's what Sarah Fine did. She wrote a mystery novel, and then she just didn't publish it, so we never get to see Ashlyn as the detective. So you described this as like, well, the main characters, they did a side quest in Skyrim, and I described it more like using that analogy. Instead of fighting these dragons, they go off into the woods, they hunt bears and tigers, and then you get a pop-up in your HUD that says, hey, yeah, someone else became the Dragonborn because you didn't do it, and they saved the world. So, good job.
And then you're just sitting there and like with a bunch of bear pelts, and you're like,
Huh.
nice.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, everything worked out.
It's like, okay, there's a comic, Batman. You know, someone broke into this bank, and Batman's on the case, and there's a giant question mark and a riddle, and he's like, this could be the Joker, could be the Penguin, could be Catwoman. I need to go back to the cave to analyze it. And then he's going to, like, the next panels are like him going to like parties as Bruce Wayne, and occasionally he thinks about the case. He's like, And he goes to the jail, and he's like, I know you did it, Joker. And Joker's like, dude, no, I've been here the whole time. You son of a bitch, I'm gonna get you. And then he goes back to the cave, and he's sitting around thinking, and then he sees a news feed. Jim Gordon has arrested the Riddler for breaking into this bank. And Batman's like, we solved the mystery. And that's the entire comic. I wanted to say, Ben Yahtzee Croshaw, he says something along the lines of, is this the most interesting story to happen to these characters? And if not, why am I not reading that? Why the fuck am I not reading about Ashlyn, a competent woman who solves the mystery and deposes an evil supernatural entity and claims her birthright?
Moros, once he figures out what's going on, he lets Eli go, and he's like, we're going to talk after this, you and me. And then he walks up to Rylan, and he's like, so, Rylan, somebody summoned me in front of the Keepers this weekend? I'm looking very much forward to that meeting. And Rylan's like, well, no, I'll call it off. And he's like, oh, no, we're doing it. And then Ashlyn's like, you're a fucking disgrace. And then Deck goes, yeah, thanks for shooting me, Rylan. And I was like, nice one, Deck.
That's for shooting me. Got him.
But so Eli and Moros have their meeting where Moros basically tells him, I want you to be like my go-to guy. I want to make you part of the elite Kier that answer my orders directly. And in exchange for performing personal tasks for me, I will give you some degree of control over the assignments you get and who you have to kill. So Eli now no longer he still has to mark people, but he no longer has to mark people he's uncomfortable marking. Not that he ever did. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know if Eli's just going after criminals now or what, or if he's going to continue to give...
He's going to become Batman.
After Eli gets back from his meeting with Moros, as you might have suspected, though we didn't spend a lot of time describing it, Galena is not having a good day. Having a gun pointed at her and her life threatened caused her something of a full-blown flashback. And she had a complete panic attack, totally disassociated, had no idea where she was back in the moment, fighting for her life, and has since had to be sedated. She's currently resting in her room. Nobody's really sure if she actually even knows where she is, but they're gonna have a long road ahead trying to help her with this. And Deck is there. He says he's had a doctor look at Galena. She was totally out of it. He's not sure. She's physically fine, but psychologically, this is going to be tough. And Eli's like, hey, Deck, would you mind staying for just a few more minutes? He's like, Deck's like, I know what you want to do. You want to go see my sister. He's like, I need to see her, Deck. I need to see her. So he teleports in to see Casey, and I was fucking furious. I just said, what the fuck? Your sister, the person you supposedly would do anything to protect. Your mission in life is to make up for the fact that you failed to protect her that night. You murdered 3 people because they touched her. You have sold your soul for the opportunity to protect her again. And the first thing you do, not sit with her, not make sure you're the first person she sees when she wakes up so that she knows everything's okay. You leave her with fucking Deck, a person she doesn't know, and you go bang your girlfriend, who you just bang 3 hours ago. That destroyed Eli's character for me right at the end. Their entire relationship is based around addiction to one another. They can't not be with each other. Again, I cannot stress enough. This is not love. This is addiction. Eli is becoming a worse person for being around Casey. Pissed me off, ruined the entire character for me. If there was any temptation to read another book in this series, it was gone. I don't give a fuck what happens to these people.
Yeah, and then they tried to bring in some shit with the fates, and it's like, I'm done.
Who could you recommend this book to? The urban fantasy bits never come together. And if you're looking for an urban fantasy, the straight up pornographic bits are going to get in the way. You cannot recommend this to anyone who, like, most people who read young adult, even like a 21-year-old. I wouldn't feel comfortable recommending this to anyone on the basis of it being an urban fantasy because it's pornography.
And at the same time, there's too much urban fantasy for people who just want to read erotica.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hated this book. There's some good stuff. I think Sarah Fine, she seems to be a competent writer. She seems to be a good writer, even though she might write like young adult, and that's not my preferred genre. But I could see where, like, okay, this could have been a good young adult book if she would have focused on those aspects. You could retool this into an urban fantasy with a romantic subplot. Or you could retool this into a romance set in an urban fantasy, but her focus is just, it's all over the place, and it doesn't satisfy either of the two genres that it's attempting to be.
I would even go so far as to give Sarah Fine, I would say, I would go so far as to say maybe her young adult stuff is good. I might even recommend it blind. Like, I have that much confidence that she's a good writer when I know she's got some, when I know what sort of boundaries she's trying to work in. And she did explicitly say this was going to be an adult novel and was going to deal with adult themes and sex. It's just, yeah, I can't say enough. It feels like a failed experiment. Let me ask you this though, Nate. Did you have fun?
I had fun talking about it.
And that's the main thing that we try to do here on Words About Books, is we try to have fun talking about books.
Why don't you once again tell everyone what our next book is going to be?
In this episode, we may have talked a lot about spicy scents.
Spicy.
The spiciest scent of all is the spice melange, the geriatric spice, and it must flow. Next month, we will be reading Dune by Frank Herbert, the sci-fi epic. This has been Words About Books. Thank you and good night.
See you in 2 weeks. Do you think anyone goes on Tinder and puts in their profile, I just want a good old guy to take care of the family while I stay home and watch after our 2 children and the white picket fence?
I believe you do.
No, not even. Not even me, a man who was born in 1827.
I was going to say, did you not meet your wife at a square dance?
Speaking of my wife, she sent me a text. Honey,
advice.
Turn down your excitement.
Yeah. But
well, I can give him a pass, because if you're immortal for what, we'll say like 60 years, you can't die. You're probably not going to really have the skills or the wherewithal to like spot danger anymore, because you're just so used to it not being a problem.
that's why he traveled with 2 professional bodyguards, a driver, and his assistant.
Shh, don't contradict me. Shh.